The kitchen light flickered twice before it held. Marcus Cole stood at the sink, both hands gripping the edge of the counter, staring at nothing. The water was running, but he wasn't using it. Steam rose and disappeared. Outside, rain tapped steadily against the window, the kind of rain that doesn't stop, it just becomes the world. On the table behind him sat a mug of coffee gone cold. Beside it, a folded newspaper he hadn't opened, and beside that, a framed photograph lying face down. He had turned it over months ago. He didn't remember doing it. Boone lay near the back door, chin resting on his front paws, watching Marcus with quiet, steady eyes. The old Belgian Malinois didn't move, didn't whine. He had learned over 3 years that mornings like this required patience more than comfort. Marcus finally turned off the water. He dried his hands slowly, staring at the photograph on the table without picking it up. His jaw tightened. His left leg ached in the cold the way it always did now, a dull, persistent reminder of everything that had happened and everything that hadn't healed. He pulled on his olive jacket, shoved his feet into his worn brown boots without lacing them properly, and pushed open the back door. Boone rose immediately. Slow, deliberate, the slight stiffness of age in every movement, but his head lifted high, ears forward, black masked face turning toward Marcus with something that never faded. Attention, loyalty, readiness. "Not today, Boone," Marcus said quietly. The dog followed him anyway. There was a time when Marcus Cole's name meant something. Not famous, not decorated in the way politicians get decorated, but known in the way that truly capable people become known. Quietly, by the people who had watched him work. He had joined the K-9 unit at 31, later than most. Before that, 8 years in the Army, 2 deployments, 1 injury that should have ended him but didn't. He came to the unit already formed, patient, precise, unshakable under pressure. The department paired him with a 6-month-old Belgian Malinois that no other handler had managed to bond with. Too intense, they said. Too driven. Impossible to redirect once locked onto something. Marcus named him Boone. Within a year, they were inseparable. Boone was extraordinary, not just trained but genuinely intelligent in the way that occasionally appears in working dogs and leaves everyone who sees it slightly unsettled. He tracked through rain, through concrete, through crowds of thousands. He located a missing hiker in the Rocky Mountain wilderness after 48 hours in a snowstorm. He found a kidnapped child in an abandoned factory, navigating through broken glass and darkness. Guided only by a scent trail 4 hours old, Marcus trusted him completely. Not blindly, not sentimentally. The way you trust something that has never once given you a reason not to. And then there was Danny Reyes. Danny had joined the unit 5 years after Marcus. 29 years old, compact and quick, with the kind of warm, easy confidence that made rookies trust him immediately. He and Marcus had been assigned as partners during a joint operation. 2 handlers, 2 dogs, covering more ground. They had become friends the way soldiers become friends. Not through shared interests or long conversations, but through shared danger, shared silence, shared instinct about when to push and when to hold. Danny had a daughter, Sophia. Marcus had met her twice at department barbecues. A small, dark-haired girl who had marched straight up to Boone without hesitation and pressed her face into his fur, while Boone sat completely still, tail thumping slowly, as if he already knew her. "She's not afraid of anything," Danny had said, watching her with pride and something close to worry. "She's her father's daughter," Marcus had replied. Danny had laughed. It was a real laugh, the kind that fills a room. Marcus hadn't heard that laugh in 3 years. Because 3 years ago, on a wet Tuesday night in October, a warehouse raid had gone wrong in the way that only the worst ones do. Suddenly, completely, with no warning that could have been enough. The intelligence had been wrong. The building wasn't empty. Danny had gone in first. Standard procedure, Marcus covering from the east entrance with Boone. And the shots had come before anyone was in position, before the radio call was complete, before anything could be done. Danny Reyes died on the floor of that warehouse at 11:47 p.m. Marcus had reached him 40 seconds too late. 40 seconds. He had counted them 10,000 times since the department had conducted its review, had found no misconduct, had offered Marcus counseling, a commendation, a transfer. He had refused all 3. 6 months later, he had handed in his badge and his unit credentials, packed Boone into his truck. The department had let him keep the dog, a quiet mercy. and driven to a small house on the edge of a rural county where almost no one knew his name. He hadn't worked since. He barely spoke. He got up every morning because Boone needed feeding. That was enough. That had to be enough. It was a Thursday morning when the knock came. Marcus was on the porch with cold coffee when he heard the car. An unfamiliar engine, careful on the gravel. He didn't move. Boone raised his head from the yard, ears forward, body still. Not a threat. A known scent, perhaps. He didn't growl. The woman who stepped out of the car looked like someone who hadn't slept in 2 days. Marcus recognized Elena Reyes immediately, though she looked older, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes and a tension in her jaw that hadn't been there before. She was wearing a gray sweater, her dark hair pulled back, and her hands trembled slightly as she closed the car door. She looked at Marcus across the yard. Marcus looked at his coffee. "I didn't know where else to go," she said. Her voice was steady, but barely. He said nothing. "Sophia is missing." The words landed like a stone dropped from height. "Since yesterday morning, she went into the woods behind the school. The police have searched. They have a team out there." She paused. "They have dogs." Marcus set down his mug on the porch railing. His left hand gripped the wood. "Elena, they haven't found her." Her voice cracked at the last word. She pressed her lips together, forcing it back. "It's been 31 hours. The temperature dropped last night. She only had her red hoodie." Boone had crossed the yard silently. He stood now at the edge of the porch steps, looking at Elena, and something shifted in him. His nostrils flared. His head tilted with a particular attention that had always meant he understood more than he should. Marcus watched the dog. "I can't," Marcus said. His voice was low, rough from underuse. Elena didn't argue. She didn't cry. She just stood there in the gravel with her hands trembling. "She talks about you," she said quietly, "whenever we pass a police dog anywhere. A TV show, the street. She says that's like Boone. She remembers him from when she was 5. Marcus closed his eyes. "Danny would not have asked you," Elena said. "You know that. He was too proud." She paused. "I'm not Danny." The silence stretched between them. Boone descended the porch steps and walked to Elena. He pressed his broad, black-masked head against her hip, a gesture Marcus had never seen him offer a stranger, and stood there, still as stone. Elena placed one shaking hand on the dog's head. Marcus stared at his worn brown boots. He thought about 40 seconds. He thought about a small, dark-haired girl pressing her face into Boone's fur without fear. He thought about how some debts cannot be paid and some cannot be walked away from either. "Let me get his vest," he said. The woods behind Clearwater Elementary stretched for 11 miles before they opened into farmland. In daylight, in summer, they were unremarkable. Second-growth forest, mostly pine, cut through with 2 creek beds that ran fast in wet weather. It was neither daylight nor summer. By the time Marcus parked his truck at the tree line, the official search had been running for 33 hours. 2 canine teams, county dogs, both young, both good, had covered the primary grid without result. The incident commander, a compact woman named Captain Hess, looked at Marcus and Boone with the kind of expression that tried to be polite and didn't quite manage it. "We have this covered, Mr. Cole." "Cole," Marcus said. "No, mister. What grid haven't you touched?" She hesitated, then pointed to a topographic map clipped to the hood of her vehicle. "Northwest sector. Creek bed runs through it. We avoided it because our dogs showed no interest in that direction." Marcus looked at Boone. Boone was already facing northwest. His nose was lifted, drawing slow, deep breaths, his broad chest expanding and contracting with the focus that Marcus knew better than his own heartbeat. The notched left ear turned slightly. His tail, not wagging, not afraid, was held at a low, deliberate angle. "He's got something," Marcus said. "Mr. Cole, that dog he must be 11 years old. Our handlers." "He's got something," Marcus repeated. Flat, final. He didn't wait for permission. The northwest sector was rough ground, an old creek bed swollen from the rain, loose shale on both banks, fallen timber crossing the path every 30 feet. Marcus's left leg protested within the first quarter mile. The old injury, a shattered fibula that had been rebuilt with surgical hardware, ached in the cold with a grinding persistence that had become background noise in his life. He pushed through it. Boone moved ahead on a long lead, nose working constantly, body low and focused. He was slower than he had been. His hips had the stiffness of an old working dog, and he picked his way across the rocky creek, crossing carefully, where once he would have leapt it without thought. But his attention never broke. He was locked onto something invisible and entirely real. Marcus watched him and felt, for the first time in 3 years, the particular quietness that came from trusting something completely. Not hope, not confidence, just the practiced, disciplined act of following what he knew. They pushed deeper. The rain had started again, light, persistent. Marcus's leg was burning now. He stopped once, hand against a pine trunk, breathing through it. Boone turned and looked at him, dark amber eyes steady, patient, unhurried, and waited. "I know," Marcus said. "Keep going." Boone turned back and moved forward. At the 40-minute mark, in a shallow depression between two fallen oaks, Marcus heard something, a sound so small it barely existed. Breathing. She was curled against the larger of the two fallen oaks, half sheltered by a collapsed section of rotted bark that had formed an accidental lean-to. Her red hoodie was soaked through. Her dark curly hair was matted with mud and pine needles. Her white sneakers were gone, lost somewhere in the creek perhaps, and her small feet were bare and pale blue with cold. Her eyes were open. She was looking at Boone. The old dog had covered the last 20 feet without Marcus, had pulled the lead free from Marcus's grip with a single, quiet, decisive movement, and had walked straight to Sofia Reyes and lain down against her without a sound. His warm fawn and black body pressed against hers, his broad chest rising and falling slowly, sharing heat. She had wrapped both small arms around his neck. She hadn't cried. She was past crying. She was in the particular stillness of a child who has been afraid for so long that fear has become weather. Marcus knelt beside them, his left leg folded wrong, and he caught himself with his hand in the wet leaves, but he didn't stop. He got down to her level. "Sophia," he said quietly. Her dark eyes moved to him. She studied his face, the gray stubble, the weathered lines, the olive jacket soaked with rain. "You have Boone," she said. Her voice was a thread. "Yeah," Marcus said. "We came together. They Boone could find anyone." Marcus's throat closed. He didn't answer that. He couldn't. He pulled his jacket off, the only dry layer he had, and wrapped it around her small shoulders. He radioed Captain Hess with his location and the girl's condition: conscious, hypothermic, needs immediate medical. He gave the coordinates twice, clearly, and confirmed receipt. Then he sat beside her in the wet leaves with Boone between them, one hand resting on the dog's back, and waited. Boone did not move. He lay against Sophia with his eyes half closed, radiating warmth that his old body could still produce. While the rain came down and Marcus sat very still and felt something he could not immediately name. Not relief, not pride, something older and quieter. He picked up the face-down photograph in his mind. He saw it clearly, Danny's warm, real laugh at a summer barbecue, Sophia pressing her face into Boone's fur, Boone sitting completely still as if he already knew her. "Your dad was a good man," Marcus said. He hadn't planned to say it. Sophia looked up at him. "I know," she said simply. "He was my partner," Marcus said, "and I was 40 seconds too late, and I have thought about that every day for 3 years." He didn't know why he was telling this to an 8-year-old girl with hypothermia in the rain. He only knew it was the first time he had said it out loud. Sophia was quiet for a moment. "My mom says it wasn't your fault," she said. "Your mom is generous," Marcus said. "She's not generous. She's right." Sophia pulled Marcus's olive jacket tighter around herself. "Dad always said the job has moments nobody controls. He said the job isn't about controlling everything, it's about showing up." Marcus looked at her, 8 years old. "He really said that?" "All the time," she said, and she leaned her head against Boone's flank and closed her eyes. Boone exhaled slowly. His tail moved once, not a wag, just a single acknowledgement, and then was still, somewhere in the distance. Marcus heard the search team moving through the trees, voices, lights beginning to strafe through the pines. He sat in the rain with Danny Reyes's daughter and Danny Reyes's words and the dog that had never once stopped believing in him. And he felt the weight that had lived in his chest for 3 years shift. Not disappear, not dissolve, just shift. Like something that had been set down, not forgiven, not fixed, changed. Sophia was airlifted out. Mild hypothermia, mild exposure. She would be kept overnight for observation. Elena had been at the hospital before the helicopter landed. Marcus drove home alone. He stopped once, at the top of a hill where the road straightened and the rain had finally eased to mist. He sat with the engine idling, both hands on the wheel. Boone sat in the passenger seat, where he always rode, chin resting on the doorframe, watching the dark tree line, the small notch in his left ear, the gray at his muzzle, the amber eyes that caught the dashboard light and held it. Marcus reached over and placed his hand on the dog's back. Boone turned and looked at him. That steady, unhurried look that had been there from the beginning, from the first day they'd been paired, through 8 years of work, through the worst night of Marcus's life, through 3 years of silence and unlatched boots and cold coffee. It had never changed. "You never gave up on me," Marcus said quietly. It wasn't a question. It wasn't a statement looking for a response. It was just the truth, spoken out loud for the first time. Boone held his gaze for a long moment. Then he turned back to the window, watching the mist settle over the dark trees, breathing slowly in the way of old dogs who have done what they came to do and are content. Marcus pulled back onto the road. At home, he hung his wet jacket by the door. He walked into the kitchen. He stood at the table for a moment, looking at the framed photograph lying face down. He reached out. He turned it over. Danny Reyes smiled up at him from a summer barbecue, warm, real, alive. Beside him, a small dark-haired girl with her face buried in the fur of a younger, sleeker version of the dog now sleeping by the back door. Marcus left the photograph face up. He made fresh coffee. He didn't drink it alone. Some weight cannot be lifted. It can only be carried differently. Marcus Cole did not become who he was before that October night. He never will. The grief is still there. The 40 seconds are still there. They will always be there. But this story reminds us that guilt and purpose can live in the same body, and that sometimes the only way through is to be called forward by something that loves you without condition or memory of your worst day. Boone did not know about 40 seconds. He did not know about failure or blame. He only knew one thing with complete certainty. The man at the end of his lead was worth following into any darkness, and that belief, patient and unbroken, was enough to bring one man back from the edge of himself. Some debts cannot be paid, but they can be honored. That is enough. That has always been enough.